everybody. Artistry and Finesse with you on Monday night, episode 3 of The Bachelor. And Finesse, I really need you tonight more than ever. I need you to talk me down off of a ledge, a figurative ledge. I am about to leap off away from The Bachelorette forever because I found tonight more intolerable than I normally find this show. What can you tell me to help me tonight?
Well, what I can tell you is that you have to feel what you feel. You don't fight it. You don't push back against the feelings. You have to just accept it and go with it. But I do think there's sort of a reason why you're feeling this way. And it comes back to, I think, the first hour of this show tonight, which was a really lukewarm hour. You know, when you're on a show...
That's very generous of you.
And you're out there and you got to put your heart on the line. I'm sitting there watching these guys in this dodgeball date, and I'm like, who among you is going to grab this thing by the horns, you know? Who's going to take control of your own destiny? And I thought none of the guys did that, and I think that's why you're feeling the way that you do. It's because if these guys aren't going to go give it their all, how are you going to give it your all? How are we going to give it our all?
Do you feel like there wasn't enough leadership on the dodgeball court tonight?
Well, I thought there was too much focus on dodgeball. I thought there were a lot of times when the guys forgot what they were there for. And you got these guys, you got the two ex-baseball players wailing like 80-mile-an-hour fastballs at each other. You got Brooks going down with a finger, and he's like letting this wail out, like, because he's got a finger. It's like, dude, you're passing. First of all, you're laying down on your back. Like, sit up, man. I thought
what are they going to do on this show that doesn't require an ambulance? Like, what sport would they play in which someone would not be rushed to the hospital? I can't even conceive of it.
Well, they tried to dial it back from boxing. You know, where Ames was famously concussed. And then you have, so they go to dodgeball, and it ends up with a guy in the hospital for dodgeball. But I think that really puts into focus why this season seems a little underwhelming for you. Because look at how Ames dealt with that concussion. Did Ames go, I got a concussion? It's like, no, he took it like a man.
There's no Ames in this group. You want to talk about taking it like a man? Brandon, no one left you again, okay? You got dumped after one date. Nobody left you. Nobody that was supposed to care for you left you. This is a woman who you met one time and you told her you loved her, and you went in for a kiss when there were clearly no signals inviting that, and she just said, I don't feel any chemistry. Nobody left you, Brandon. What kind of man are you?
Wait, so you're going back, I think that stems from earlier in the episode when there were several of the men were in the kitchen shirtless making omelets and protein shakes, and Brandon was really upset about what happened with Brian when Brian's ex-girlfriend came back and started yelling at him, and I think Brandon got into something about how...
His father figures.
Yeah, I actually missed that part. So what was he saying about father figures?
Well, that resonated with him, and you can understand it. I don't know if he was in foster homes, what it was, or, people left. But, just as he would get close to a man, he'd finally have a catch with a father figure, and then that father figure would leave. He'd have a catch, another one would leave. Another catch, and then that one would leave. That gets to you after a while.
Do you think he's ever asked himself the question, maybe I'm just not that good at catch?
Right. That could turn you off to sports big time.
But, I got to be honest with you, I feel a little judgment coming from you toward Brandon that I'm a little put off by.
You think I'm not showing proper empathy for him?
Well, I think that your focus, you're looking at it from the perspective of a father, right? We're all familiar with your father credentials. We all know what you bring to the table in the fatherhood department. But,
tread carefully, my friend.
But let me tell you what I know about. I know a little something about being a son. I know a little about looking up to his father. And I don't blame Brandon for being upset with Brian. For Brian. Look, Brian, whoever this crazy woman's kid was, like, Brian left that kid. And Brandon rightfully sees a lot of himself in that kid. And when that kid comes on the show in like 15 years, he's going to be just like Brandon. He's going to be like, who are these guys coming, playing catch and leaving, playing catch and leaving? It's not really fair of you to judge him, is what I'm saying.
You know, if you're going to play catch, just don't. If you're going to leave, just don't play catch, is really what it comes down to. Just if the kid comes to you and says you want to play a little catch, just be like, I'm just not feeling up to it, feeling a little under the weather, whatever. Don't catch, because that's clearly that's what resonates.
Right. The stepfather-stepson catch is like the fantasy suite of the step-parent relationship.
It's loaded. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you can read a lot of meaning into a catch, and you know, some person might think it's just a casual catch, you know, like we're both in the mood to have a catch. You got your mitt, I got my mitt, let's have a catch. Mm-hmm. But someone else might look at it like, hey, this person really wants to have a catch with me. Not just a catch generally with whoever's out there might be willing to have the catch.
Right. What I think Brandon needed was to turn the tables, ask somebody else to have a catch, and then just leave them.
Right, he should have had a catch with Dez, and just thrown the ball in the woods and thrown his glove down and said, "I'm out," you know, and just walked off.
Just get over playing the victim. Assert yourself. That's all there is to it.
So he's gone. Brandon's gone, and I think, you know, he's going to have a lot to work out on his own in his own time after the show. But going back to what I said before about how no one was really grabbing the show by the horns early. Did you think that later in the episode that Juan Pablo and Bryden sort of stepped to the forefront? Are they real contenders? Or do you think that even if they're front runners, they're not really serious front runners?
Well, I think Juan Pablo, or JP, as I've come to refer to him, has the classic, you know, effortless, you know, just sensual appeal. But I think inevitably, Des is going to think to herself, this guy's not trying at all. Like, this is not like a Roberto situation where, sure, he's got the sensuality, sure, he's got a sports uniform, but he's also making, you know, overt moves to, you know, ingratiate himself with her. Well, that's not JP's style. JP just sort of like waits for you to come to him. He's sitting there, he's eating popcorn. He may feed you popcorn. He may put some popcorn in your mouth, let it drop onto your bosom, and then pick it up and feed it to you again. He may do that, but he's not going to. There's not going to be any statements of love, a la Brandon. You know, there's not going to be any of that. He just exists. He's just somebody that, you know, he fills up the space, JP does, and, you know, he wants to draw you to him. But I don't think that there's enough there in the way of true. There's not enough want to from JP. It's just too easy for him.
There's no depth. It's you're sort of saying it's come so easily for him throughout his life that now he doesn't feel like he has to work for it. And
he's like Mario Lemieux smoking like 3 packs of cigarettes a day, you know, and scoring 8 goals. That's JP.
Right. And it's like JP or Juan Pablo or Juan Peasy or whatever you want to call him. It's just, you know, he's too cool for school almost. Because it's like...
That's the problem.
If you give him popcorn, he's just going to eat the popcorn. He's not going to say, this popcorn reminds me of the fact that I had my mom's boyfriend once took me to the movies and he left in the middle of the movies and I had no ride home. Like, that's where Juan Peasy needs to go with the popcorn. Instead, he's just eating the popcorn. You can't, like, he doesn't understand that popcorn's not popcorn. It's something symbolic. You have to make it symbolic about the relationship, about your father, about your mother, about something, about your son. you don't just eat the popcorn. He's just eating the popcorn. That's going to get really old for Des, and I think it's going to get old quickly.
Popcorn's just popcorn to JP. There's no question about that. He's eating the popcorn and just giving up of a vibe. Come to me, Des, and that's not going to last. It's not enough. And so the other potential front runner you mentioned was Bryden, who is shy, and to Des that seems very endearing at this stage. But you got to wonder if Bryden, that's fine for episode 3, but in episode 7, if Bryden is pulling this stuff, Des is going to be like, "Where's the I love you? Where's the scrapbook?" And I just question whether Bryden has it in him to elevate his game.
Well, we sort of thought the same thing about Jeff with Emily, didn't we? Like, he was really a little bit, nervous, a little bit shy early on. And it was that mystery, kind of that aura of mystery that he built up around him that really endeared him to Emily, and I think got him through the first couple weeks where he was at real risk of being sent home. Because there wasn't the Juan Pablo instant attraction type of thing.
Are you comparing Bryden to Heh? Is that what I hear you doing?
I'm saying that with Heh, you have to look at Heh as a lesson. Like, have we entered a new paradigm of bachelors? And what I mean by that is, do you have to be you might not have to be muscle bound anymore. You might not have to be this huge hulking figure who is aggressive and is like out there making all the moves. Like, maybe you float a little bit behind the radar. Maybe you act a little bit awkward when you're going in for the kiss, but do it in a charming way. It's all very calculated. I don't think Bryden's doing this out of the goodness of his heart. I think it's all a very calculated strategy, but it's a strategy that might work.
I think you're giving Bryden a bit too much credit, and I think you're forgetting something that's really important here. Had puppets, and he used those puppets, and he worked those puppets. And I don't see any similar talent in Bryden. I think what you see is what you get from him. I think he's an innocent, charming in his innocence and naivete, but I'm not sure it goes beyond that. I'm feeling pretty confident that it doesn't. He may make it a couple more weeks, but I just don't see anything there. Eventually, you got to reach out and you got to grab a hold of what you want on this show.
Aren't we going to have to see how it plays out with Bryden?
Well, you can sit back and watch how it plays out. I'm telling you how it's going to play out.
But has he
I've been watching the show a long time.
Has he had that one-on-one time? Has he been on the date where he's able to go to the puppet store and get the puppets?
I don't remember one thing Bryden has said or done on this show. All I remember is Des saying to him that, it's really cute how you're shy and I'm going to kiss you now. I'm going to make the first move. That's my only takeaway with Bryden. He's a strapping young man, but I just don't think there's anything going on there. I don't see any mystery. I don't see any puppets. I don't see any bottled water company. I don't think he's got a shot.
So I'm
telling you how this is going to play out. Don't tell me I need to sit back and watch how this unfolds. I know how this unfolds.
I think what you're saying is to Bryden, don't wait for the puppets to come to you. Go get some puppets.
Get the freaking puppets, Bryden.
What did you think about Dez's creamsicle outfit? The kind of light orange pants with the orange shirt. Was that working for you?
Yeah, I like what Des is doing so far. I think she's really, she's playing the role. She's over the years. It's remarkable how we've seen. It's like an iteration in the same way as computers progress over time. We're seeing Bachelorette 7.0 right now. We really are. These people know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how to suck in the entire group of men or women, as the case may be, and they know how the season is supposed to progress and what level every relationship is supposed to be on week to week, and they hit these marks. And I just don't think that we saw this 2-4 years ago,
I think it was most apparent that Des has the chops for this when after the incident with Brian and his girlfriend, she comes back in, and you have this every season. It's the scene where the contestant really puts the fear of God to the group, gathers the whole group around, says, look, if anybody has any secrets, if anyone has anything to tell me, raise your hand right now. Let's put all the cards on the table. And I thought she really hit everything she needed to hit in that speech. And it didn't hurt that Chris Harrison's right over her shoulder to support her.
It seemed like Chris Harrison was he seems particularly protective of Des. I don't think we've seen Chris Harrison this invested in some time. Quite frankly, it's good to have him back.
It was great on the phone call when he called Des to tell her that someone was there for the wrong reasons, and he said, "I don't want him to get away with this." It's like Chris Harrison is out there patrolling. I mean, he's the first protector of Des. We thought maybe Harrison had a crush on Emily. Maybe he's a little smitten with Des. Do you see that as a possibility?
Listen, I think it's only a matter of time with Chris Harrison. You look at Chris Harrison when he enters the room, and all the men, they're sort of awestruck. They're looking at him, and Harrison's like, I know you're all wondering why I'm here. That man, he commands the room. And you have to think that the Bachelorette is thinking the same thing as the men are when Chris Harrison walks into the room. Look at this man. Look at him take control. Look at him in all his glory. He doesn't need to be dressed as a cowboy. He doesn't need to be rappelling off of a building. He commands that kind of respect and attention and adoration just walking into the room. And to your point, I do think that it's a very real possibility that at some point we're going to be hit with a major twist. And that twist is going to be a Bachelorette's love for Chris Harrison.
Like maybe Harrison just puts himself in the running at one of the rose ceremonies. He crosses over to the other side.
This show is not about fighting these emotions. It's about embracing them. And if that happens, and I suggest to you that inevitably it will, I think we might see Chris Harrison lining up for the rose ceremony.
Two more things I want to get to before we go. Brad had a one-on-one date, or a little one-on-one time. He was telling Des about his past, a 3-year-old child named Maddox. I, for one, don't know whether that's a boy or a girl. Do you?
Maddox could go either way. One thing I noticed about Des is it's really special to her, everything that happened tonight. Whether you broke your finger in a dodgeball game, whether you told her that, you had a lot of father figures that walked out on you, or whether, as in the case of this guy, who comes in and says he's haunted by the fact that he has a son and he was accused of domestic violence and arrested. Her response is pretty consistent. That's really special that you told me that, or that you did that. And I think it's that kind of consistency that really is the mark of a great Bachelorette as well.
Whether you believe this guy's explanation for the domestic violence hit that he took, do you think Des would be better off safe than sorry in this situation? Like maybe let Brad go. Say, hey, maybe the chemistry's not here. I believe you, by the way, about the whole restraining order domestic violence thing. But, the car's waiting out there. Please don't come within 3 feet of me on your way out the door.
I don't see how you could say that. I mean, I just feel like, you're not being guided by a purity of heart right now.
Who, me?
You're being a little cynical.
Well, it's like you're not even letting me have an opinion about a guy who's a father. And it's like I'm trying to do this podcast, and every time I talk about a father, it's something with you. Every single time.
Listen, you can have an opinion about a father. just know that you can't possibly be right. I mean, how do you know?
Right. I just have to say my opinion knowing that it has no credibility whatsoever on the issue.
I bet you think Ben is being manipulative by using the fact that he's a father. I bet that's your view on Ben.
Well,
Tell me I'm wrong.
I said this in the first podcast. It's not about Ben being manipulative. I just think I'm sick of the kids. I don't care. I'm done with these guys' kids. It's not about them finding a mother.
No, I don't know.
I don't want them. They don't need to find a mother for their kids. You know?
Says
different
you.
show. That's a different show. I'm here for Des. I'm not here for their kids. You know? I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care about Ben's son. I don't care about Maddox.
I bet you don't care about Little Ricky either, do you?
I care about Little Ricky. You watch your mouth. You watch your mouth. I care deeply about Little Ricky.
All right, at least we have that straight.
Final thing, James, the enormous guy, got the reassurance rose because his father has the makings of pancreatic cancer. Just a regular reassurance rose, he's not a contender, am I right?
Guy's got fantastic teeth. There are a bunch of these guys you feel like they got like some teeth whitening done before the show. Have you noticed that?
Right.
It's like a thing this year.
Amazing traps and teeth and delts. I mean, these are some big guys. This is like maybe the most jacked, swole group of guys we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, that guy James, man, it's hard to say what's on Dez's mind. Like, she didn't it was nice of her to give him the rose and everything. She didn't have to make out with the guy.
I really thought they were going to have to put that horse down after James got on that horse. I mean, James probably weighs 260. He's like 260 pounds of muscle.
He's huge.
He's enormous. Yeah, but he's on. Him and Mikey and that guy Michael. They're sort of on right reasons patrol. Which means they have no chance of winning. They're just out there to say to the other guy that he's not there for the right reasons. They're going to have this whole internal struggle about whether to tell Des about it. None of them are going to win. It's going to be a waste of everybody's time.
They could easily segue right from being contestants to being members of security, like Paulie, the guy that escorted the one guy out today.
Yeah, yeah. That's what they don't need security. Just have these guys do it.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I know that this is effortless for you. I came into this podcast thinking, I was finished, and 25, 30 minutes later, you sucked me back in. And that's just a testament to how good you are.
Well, it's a testament to the show. It's a testament to true love and the pursuit of it.
So true. All right. We'll be back next week, I'm afraid, for episode 4. Until next time. The Big Kibitz.
Time to kibitz, time to kibitz, time to kibitz. It's the big kibitz. Come and kibitz with the big kibitz. Ooh, big kibitz. Big. It's the big kibitz. Come and kibitz with the big kibitz. Ooh, big